48 minutes.
Who says we're going to be done in 48?
Ready?
I don't know what.
I'd like to call the October 28th, 2021 Board of Selectmen's budget meeting to order at 6:30 PM. Town manager, do we have any need for a non-public?
We do not.
Okay, and we have no minutes. First item on the agenda, agencies. And you should have received a list of the agencies. We had agreed to put Starting Point on the list, and the figure should be $4,436. Anybody have any issue with Granite V&A? Meals on Wheels? The Children's Center? Tri-County Action Plan? Life's Ministry?
Linda, one question.
Yep.
For the Tri-County Action Plan, that's for two previous that are joined together, correct?
I believe that's the case, yes.
Carroll County Transit.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, people at home, everybody, that, because it looks like a substantial increase, but it's two.
Correct.
I did put a star beside Carroll County Transit, but maybe I'll also put a star beside the Tri-County.
Probably that would be, all right. Any other questions about Tri-County Cap? Used to be Tri-County. Life Ministry Pantry, Starting Point. Are we all comfortable of adding $4,436 to that column? Okay. Kingswood Youth Center, Northern Human Services, Senior Center and Meals, Caregivers of Carroll County, the Dinner Bell.
May I speak to that one?
Sure.
There was a clerical error. If you look, we did give you a copy of the backup. They did request $6,000, and $5,500 was carried forward. $1,000. I don't know if you want to entertain an increase of $500 to that as they requested.
Board members, does anybody have any issue with that? We did receive the backup that showed it was $6,000. Okay.
We're good.
Thank you for clarifying that. The next one, Caregivers of Southern Carroll County, Dinner Bell, okay. CASA, Carroll County Transit, which is now up on the Tri-County Community Action Plan. End 68 Hours of Hunger. White Horse Recovery. I question whether we want to add that to the grants for agencies. They've asked a number of other times, and we have decided not to. So I don't know how this board feels. Anybody take that off, or you want to keep it on?
I'm good. White Horse Recovery. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with keeping it.
Yeah, I like their presentation. I think that they offer a lot to the community.
Okay. Children Unlimited. Okay, so.
But I would say this, if you take the Tri-County Action Plan and you take the Carroll County Transit and you add them together, for last year, they were $11,531, and now they're asking for $14,451. So they have the largest increase for the year of over $3,000.
Well, the largest is the White Horse Recovery because they've never been on it.
Yeah, correct. But the largest existing one is up three. Is everybody okay with an extra $3,000 a year for them? They combined their two budgets and then added $3,000 to it.
They gave us the formula. Is there, on the formula, do you have an issue? Amy, I think, has something she'd like to say.
Yeah, so I'm going to advocate for them because They did the COVID funds this past year, and they distributed all those for the communities in a very fast manner. But I think also there was a discrepancy with it last year. I think the Budget Committee might have cut them
Okay.
because of the member with the combo issue last year. So I think their request is the same. They just didn't get all of the same amount last year.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, is there any other agency you wanted to discuss? Okay, we just put this as is in the budget. You've added that 4,436, and it will go through when we approve the budget, right?
I did put it on your motion sheet if you wanted to do a motion for those two agencies on the next page when we go on the revisits again. So the next two things on list Amy handed out are the agency grants if you wanted to do the motions. Handed it out this evening. An updated Board of Selectmen change list.
Well, I guess my feeling is the White Horse Recovery came with everybody else. It was part of the list of the agencies we had before. The board agreed to put in starting point at a board meeting. So does the board feel like they need to do individual warrant motions for that, or do we just move the whole agency?
Move the whole agency.
Move the agency.
Agency into the budget. And did I hear you say that, Dave?
Yes.
And Brad, you seconded?
I did.
Yes. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Does that do it? Okay. All right. Okay, we're on to the revisit list. And we have the fire chief here. Is that where you'd like to start, Jim?
Yep.
Okay.
We talked about this briefly last night, but I thought it important that the chief be here to potentially be able to answer any questions that you may have about the amendments he has made to his budget, and I will speak to the increase in supervisory salaries.
Okay. Explain it to us.
In general, let me find the list here. We've made some, going back and sharpening the pencil, so to speak, we've made some adjustments in the overtime line, and I believe as flows from that, payroll taxes and retirement contribution and so forth, that also impacted. I believe that carries down through some of the lines a little further down on the list. We did provide, I wanted to give you some backup, some statistics and so forth, reference the proposed new hire just to give you a sense of some of the numbers of calls and things like that, and give you a chance to either ask questions or take it home and digest it a little bit and so forth. Basically, you would just be able to kind of show where, where we've come from and where we kind of see it we're going. We were also able to reduce the capital outlay item by a little over $12,000. We were able to purchase some of those items out of current budget to reduce that down approximately to $35,000. That's pretty much it, I believe, for our side of it. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Well, my understanding is with your cut in overtime will work as long as you get the extra person. And I think that needs to definitely be clear.
Right. The numbers work because we've been able to look at it. The intent is that that person will begin to cover our Kelly days, or at least 2 of the 3 Kelly days. And as a result, we would have to backfill on overtime fewer times during the course of the year.
Okay. Any other selectmen have any questions regarding this? Righty. And I see you also did vehicle maintenance. You also brought that one down. Machinery maintenance.
Vehicle maintenance, we were able to, based on the timeframes we're talking about for delivery of the new ladder and so forth, we were able to reduce, if not eliminate, the itemized line we had for the ladder, with the expectation that any repairs from delivery approximately a year from now to the end of the year should be minimal, and hopefully if there's anything, it's covered under warranty. The machinery maintenance, I met a couple of times in the last few weeks with Captain Livy from the PD, and we determined that the new data logger that they're in the process of purchasing today, I believe it's been ordered, has the capacity to monitor our phone lines and radios and stuff. At the same time, we will be able to have access to it, and it stores data not only on the hard drive but in the cloud, which meets the redundancy requirements that we have to store that sort of thing, which is really why we have a data logger in the first place. So we were able to eliminate the maintenance contract for the data logger for 2022, since we will not need it at that point. I suspect we'll keep it online until we're sure everything's working correctly and so forth, and there's probably a time frame where we'll want to keep it just to make sure that any legal deadlines and so forth expire. But that also allowed us going forward to eliminate the replacement of that unit proposed for, I believe, 2 years from now. Today's dollar is $10,000.
Thank you for doing that. Board members, any questions? I'm going to look for KC.
Okay. On behalf,
I think we have at least 3 motions.
correct.
Okay.
On behalf of the chief, in Department 42200, he's decreasing his overtime by $16,953, which is from $86,953 to $70,000. A decrease in taxes of $245, account 220, and a decrease in retirement, account 230. A decrease of $5,593 would be your appropriate motion.
I'll do that. So moved.
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that one's done. I think
On behalf of the fire chief, I am going to recommend a motion to decrease vehicle maintenance for the Ladder 1 truck, Department 42200, account 430, from $40,000 to $36,175, a decrease of $3,825.
Anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we've taken care of that motion. We have one more, I think.
Yep. On behalf of the chief, Department 42200, account 433, machinery maintenance, a decrease from $5,800 to $4,450, a decrease of $1,350 for his recorder maintenance.
All right, I'll move that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I think this goes back to you, Jim.
Okay. So I'm going to tie in what I talked about previously, Madam Chairperson, if it's okay with you, about that
Yep.
other business. As you're well aware, Tom Zoddy has been filling the role of acting fire chief since approximately April. He has done this during a time when we're in the middle of a pandemic, and turnover within any department head is never easy. Tom has, at least in my time here, shown a significant amount of growth. He's definitely become a leader within the department, and he's becoming well respected in the region. Tom has spent a lot of time in the fire service career. He's an instructor with the New Hampshire Fire Academy. He takes professional development seriously. He was, in fact, last night and today attending collaborative leadership training, showing his dedication to being a manager and a leader within this community. Tom has 31 years of service to the town of Wolfeboro, 6.5 years of that as a call firefighter, 4 years of that as a career firefighter, another 4 years as a career lieutenant, and 17 years as a deputy fire chief. Tom, going forward, will be our fire chief, emergency management director, and forest fire warden. As a result of that, I've provided you with a document that outlines Tom's pay, and we negotiated some items within it, and I think what you'll see on the second page of that is it's a fair compensation, especially when compared to peers in the region. One of the other agreements that the chief and I made, when I was fire chief, I was expected to be here, hands on deck, during the 4th of July. And that's a huge commitment. And as a result of that, I feel it's fair that that man be compensated for being available for that time. So within our agreement, we made an agreement to pay him for that, which is pretty consistent with what the police department does. With that said, we are asking to increase the supervisory salary slightly. Tom will be right now making the same hourly rate of pay as his predecessor, but one of the stipulations within our agreement is he's going to be paid for 42 hours versus 40 hours. Reason for that is a significant amount of night meetings, whether it's here with the Board of Selectmen or if it's working with the call staff in the evenings or weekends for training. He does have the ability to flex his time, but this is not an unreasonable request, and I think we've come to an agreement that works well for the town, takes a long-term dedicated employee, promotes him to the level of fire chief, and I'm excited to announce that Tom is our fire chief, and as a result, we would like to make some slight adjustments upwards in his salary. His base salary for a full year is $105,000. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer anything you may have.
I guess I want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
You deserve it and have done well, an excellent job for the town. So,
In the words of some popular music, it's been a long, strange trip, but here we are.
and you've gotten there. All right, I think I'll turn this over to KC for the lines for the motion.
Yep. Department 4, 2200 Fire, account 113, supervisory salaries from $170,082, $176,957, increase of $6,875. Other compensation in the same department, account 150, an increase of $17.10. Payroll taxes, account 220, an increase of $124. And retirement, account 230, an increase of $2,833.
And I'll move that. Do I have a second? Second from Dave. Any further discussion from any board members? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Thank you. And if you don't mind, I just would like to take a moment in front of you, sign the contract with Chief Zoddy. Myself, Tom, and Amy will be the witness.
Perfect.
Tom, I got you a pen.
Oh, boy, okay.
Hey, somebody got the cat there. There we go.
Pen's got to work.
Pound pen. No, not quite.
And if somebody would be kind enough to snap a picture.
Oh, you want to do it that way? I also have some of the signing. All right, one more, geez. Okay, got
Thank you
three of
very
them.
much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I think you can, oh, you probably want to talk about your capital outlay, right?
Yeah. As we discussed, we were able to work the numbers to be able to buy just over $12,000 of the items out of the current budget, which reduced the capital outlay to approximately $35,000, and still gets us where we were hoping to be after that. So we were able to reduce it, and obviously that's a positive step.
Yeah, are you going to give us, are you going to do a new sheet before it goes to the Budget Committee, so it's only listing those things that you're going to get?
Yes.
Okay.
We have it.
And I had the town manager sign off on the new one and make note that it was a decrease.
Okay. Do you need any motion for us on that?
Just if you're pushing it forward or not, is that
Yes.
right? Is that what you're going to do next with all of them? Or do you just, they all go?
Well, I think we've gone through and gone through each one of them up until now.
Okay?
So we probably should follow the same process.
Yep, so the original request was for $48,000. The chief took out $12,650, so the request is now for $35,350 with a tax item.
And I'll move that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we've taken care of that, and we like that.
Thank you.
We can excuse them.
While we have the chief here, I wanted to read something that maybe other people saw in the Granite State News. It's to the editor. Seabird thanks responders. To the editor, we would like to express our thanks and gratitude to the Wolfeboro, Alton, Ossipee, Tuftonboro, and Wakefield fire departments for their fast and professional response to the recent fire at the Seabird Asian Cuisine restaurant. Also, we would like to thank the Wolfeboro Police responding EMTs and others, any who were inadvertently omitted, for their assistance. Once again, thanks all Guy and Kim Fu and the Seabird family of Wolfeboro. This is what we have.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll admit, I was nervous when I got there, because as you're aware, the Oddfellows building's about 6 feet away.
Yeah.
But the crews did a tremendous job making an initial attack, and our mutual aid partners were Johnny on the spot, so to speak, and it could have been a lot worse.
And I appreciate the Foos for actually reaching out publicly and saying, thanks, first responders.
And also to
Good
thank,
feelings all around.
yeah, and from the board to thank your men and the people who came to
women.
your aid. Yeah. Thank you. All righty. Then I guess if we're still going down here, the next one is the Libby, and it's under dues. Thank you. Dues and subscriptions.
Yes. So I believe that was for the Wolfeboro Chamber of Commerce that you requested removed. So Department 45891, account 560, a decrease of $100 from $1,004 to $904.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Right. And then the next one has to do with our motion last night, town manager.
Right, an additional 1% increase to the town manager, Department 41302, supervisory salaries, account 113, $825, payroll taxes, account 220, an increase of 142, account 231, retirement, an increase at $87.
I'll move that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So those took care of those. Now, there was something over here, and I think Christine's here. We were talking about park and rec revenue. Was that where we were? Is that why Christine's here? Or is there another thing?
So I think,
She's here for that and to be able to defend any questions you have regarding the pickup.
The what?
The pickup
Pickup
within the
truck.
capital outlay.
Christine was going to, I believe I mentioned it last night, is going to give me revenues to put on the top of all the budgets that have a,
I just sent you an email like 2 seconds ago. You don't have it done?
no, I don't have it done yet.
That's why I had to ask again.
Thanks, ladies.
Okay, the issue with the pickup truck.
So I did a little research.
Yep.
I checked out the F-150, the 2022 Lightning. So starting price is $39,974. You could get a federal rebate up to $7,500. This right now, though, in order for some of them, you have to put a $100 deposit just if you're going to purchase it. So I wasn't sure what to do with that. And then I did do a lease, to check out a lease. Unfortunately, the lease is not comparing apples to apples. It was on a Colorado 1500 two-door. That was it was a 6-month lease for $495 a month, which correlates to $2,970 for a 6-month lease.
The only problem with the $7,500 for the government rebate is it's a non-refundable government rebate, which means not deduction, but
Exemption?
yeah. So what it means is that you have to have $7,500 that you owe the federal government on your tax return in order to claim the rate. It's a non-refundable tax return.
Okay.
So that doesn't work because I talked to KC about that, and we don't file taxes, right? As
Other than payroll taxes, that's
Yes.
correct.
So that, unfortunately, we can't get that. The only thing that would have worked for us is if we had an old diesel in our fleet, that could be turned in, and we could get a 25% decrease in the price of the vehicle. But according to Jim and the other departments, we don't have an old vehicle in the fleet, an old diesel.
The other thing that I would just like to mention about the electric vehicles, it could become problematic when they come out of warranty as well. Our mechanic is not qualified to work on those types of machines. And we've got to start thinking about that and whether we want to make the decision to get our mechanics qualified to be able to work on those types of vehicles, because you just can't go in there and mess around with it. You have to be qualified, or you're going to mess something up significantly or get hurt. So that's something that we've actively been talking about.
I think very definitely we need to do that, because I think in the long run, that's where we're heading, and it's better that we get educated ahead of time. So I support us getting the education for them. And
Who is our mechanic right now?
We have two mechanics, Ben Barry and Christopher Raymond. They're our mechanics. They do an outstanding job. We did have an agreement with the police department that, you know, any issues relative to that Tesla, that has to go to Tesla to be worked on.
The Ford would be a little bit easier because it could be bought at Rochester Ford, and it would have a 3, 4, 5 year, whatever warranty on it, and they would service it.
Yep.
board members, anybody going to make a motion to change what's here? Or are we all comfortable with what we have? Thank you for your information.
You're welcome. I will have those. I'll talk to you about it tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it is my understanding with that, we have done all the final budget reviews. Is there anything else you want us to look at or make motions for?
So I do have one withdrawal.
Oh,
And that would be from David Ford on his capital outlay for the water treatment plant aluminum sludge disposal. That's the correct one, right, Casey? For $30,000. Reason being, David reached out and was able to get a very attractive contract and be able to handle it this year within his existing operating budget, less than half of this estimated price. So we are asking to withdraw page 41 of your capital outlays, the water treatment plant aluminum sludge disposal.
And we should make that as a motion.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Got any other good news?
I think that's it, isn't it, Casey?
But tonight, yes,
That's
we're
it.
still waiting on a few insurance quotes, but right now I do believe that we are done going through all the budgets and all the capital outlays and all your revisit items that I'm aware of.
Hey, board members, is there anything you would like to review, talk about? Are we ready to send this to our next meeting to vote on it? Buddy? Okay.
Good.
I think that closes the budget. Selectmen.
We will have it into a summary form for the 3rd.
Yes.
And we will work on getting it ready for the Budget Committee.
Yeah, the goal is to have it in their hands sometime next week because their first meeting is the following week, so we want to have it in their hands sometime next week.
Oh, they will be so pleased.
It will be.
We've actually heard positive reviews about the format from a couple of them, so yes, good news.
Okay. Brian? No, you're not busy. Meeting. All right. Okay. Next on the agenda is public input. All right. I need a motion to go into the Libby Museum meeting, or Libby trustees meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We are to review the proposed partnership MOU. I'll turn it over to Brad, who is the representative to the Libby, Friends of the Libby, and I think Brian probably will have things to add.
Thank you. Yeah, as you know, we've been negotiating back and forth for quite a while on this. Linda, you and I have had some discussions on different ideas on how to approach this and everything here. What we have here in front of us is a draft from the meeting that we had, gosh, had to be over 3 weeks ago now, between 3 reps from the Friends of Libby, being Tom Goodwin, Alana and Carrie, myself, Jim, Brian, and Amy. No, Amy wasn't there for that, was she? And these are some of the comments that came out of that. And in one of our other meetings as trustees, we talked about partnering with them for the strategic business plan and the economic viability study. You know, and not just dump the whole thing on them, to actually partner with them and share the responsibilities and moving forward, you know, financially and with input into that too. So, so that's where we're at with that. And I wanted to bring up part of a discussion here tonight. Early on during our discussions with the Friends of Libby, they had talked about on the benchmarking of somewhere here, one of the sheets is we'd originally, our motion had originally talked about the 70-30 split to keep that current as we go through these. I think the motion I had was on, by December of 2023, to put in a warrant article to keep us at 30% share to what they had raised through December of 2021. In one of the early discussions with the Friends, just put this out for discussion right now, they had mentioned that they wouldn't really have a problem if we, put this toward the end and stuff. So I was wondering if the board wanted to reconsider and possibly, agree to do this MOU with us putting all the funds in at the end, so we have the opportunity to bond it as one, all at once for a project at the end here. As Linda said, that would spread the burden out to over 10 years, so the people would be using it in the future, not put it on to just the taxpayers on that 1 year that we'd have to be putting that money into a capital reserve account. So I just want to put that out, see what kind of take the temperature of the board, see what thoughts are on that and stuff. If they think that would be an acceptable way to approach it, or if they thought that would be another stumbling block in the whole process here. So.
Well, people know where I am, so
Yes.
I don't need to say much more.
My only question to that would be if we bond it, let's say the bond is over 10 years, then I would think we at least own it for 10 more years, no matter what. I don't think we could bond it and then hand it over to the Friends if we're paying the bond. Maybe we can. Maybe that's a legal question. I don't know. But that would be
Jim, can a bond be
I'm
assigned?
writing it down for legal interpretation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do know that there is some stipulation, because every year they'll give me a letter saying, have you changed the purpose of this bonded asset? So, and the answer's always been no. So it could be an IRS issue if you change the purpose. If we bond a building and then give it to a private organization, IRS stipulation. Because we're getting an IRS bond.
Yeah.
We're getting bond rates because we're.
So the bond would be for the same purpose, but it would be,
It's not a government purpose anymore if you give it.
oh, yeah, correct.
If you give it-
Right. It would be.
The
it would be-
museum's the same purpose, but it's not a government entity anymore. So I agree with Jim that we need a legal opinion, but every year there's a couple that the bond bank will just say, have you changed the purpose of this asset? And I keep saying no.
Now, Brad, do you think the Friends of the Libby will accept a memorandum of understanding, knowing that we're not going to contribute anything to the project until they raise their share?
I think so, because in some of those early on discussions, when this new board came on of the Friends of Libby, over a year ago now, probably a year and a half ago now, some of the initial statements were that, that would be acceptable, so.
I mean, I'm great with that. The only other thing that I was looking at is if we followed what you said, and Linda and I had a conversation about this, if we followed what you said, when you said that at the end of December 2021, we would put a warrant article out in 2023 based on what they raised to 2021.
Right.
That would leave us with, we would only be putting out a warrant article in 2023 of about $127,000. Then whatever they raised in 2022, we would be putting out a warrant article in 2024. There is a good chance by 2024, they would have raised all the money. So our last piece of the pie could potentially be just a bond for about half of the project, $450,000. That bond could then be, instead of a 10-year bond, it could be a shorter bond because it's half as much, maybe a 5-year bond. That gets that bond out of the way and gets the museum turned over to their trust a little bit quicker. So there's two ways to skin this cat, and some of it has to do with what they will accept. and keeping the burden as low as possible on the taxpayers in town.
Well, the same burden on the taxpayers in town, it's just who pays it. So that, it's either the people here or somebody 8 years from now. So it's the same cost to them. And so I believe, and I've said that all along, that it should be out. I think it's when I talked to the Friends, and we talked about what it really would cost them to have the wherewithal to take over the trust in the museum. Tom Goodwin thought it'd be about $6 million. Now, if they've raised $2 million and they think they can raise another $1 million in 5 years, 10 years seems like a reasonable amount of time to have the resources to be able to take over the museum.
Well,
No, I don't think that's...
during that 10-year time frame, we're going to have to see a substantial step or set of steps from them showing that they are moving in that direction. They're going to have to start paying some of the expenses that the museum has on a yearly basis. They're going to have to make sure that they're expanding the museum's programs. We're going to have to see something to know. Either that or they're going to just wait 10 years and say, we can't do it.
I think I gave you...
Still have it.
I gave you a way that we could add to the MOU that the Friends of the Living Museum will aspire to build a growing endowment aiming at $1 million in 5 years in order to pay half the endowment revenue to help cover the taxpayers' costs and half the revenue to expand programs. That, to me, is back to a partnership. We get some, and they get some to move where they want to go with a brand-new building. It seems like each of us gets something and we're working together. And I think we've got to get into that frame of mind with them, and we have to bring them with us. You talk about a management plan. That's what I'd like to see in an MOU, and that's what I'd like to see in that management plan. And I thought that's what we were going to head to figure out where we are, where they are, where their goals are, where our goals are, and where we're going to be at the end. Along with the economic feasible plan, whether it's economically feasible for it even to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see any of those two other things going away.
Yeah.
Do you?
No, and the thing that keeps circling back in my mind is what Tom Donovan said. Why is a Board of Selectmen running a museum?
Well, we know why we're running the museum. In 1956, the town and everybody stepped up and said, we want to run it. We're now saying, and they're offering, if you look at that MOU, it was the Friends of the Libby Museum who suggested to us that they were willing to take this next step. We as a Board of Selectmen didn't say, oh, we want that. No, they said, this is kind of where we're going. And I think you and I and the other people, we all agree that's where we need to end up. We're just trying to figure...
I just wish I knew an end game, because it's very open-ended. It started with my first conversations with some of the Friends was, well, in 5 years, we're going to be looking at taking it over. And then it moved to 10 years. Then it moved to 15 years. And in 15 years, if the citizens of Wolfeboro pay $50,000 a year for 15 years, there's another $750,000 that the taxpayers have funded the museum for. It just keeps piling and piling and piling.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to know those answers until we have these plans developed. That's what's going to spell out, kind of identify the time frame and everything within that strategic plan there and stuff. So, you know, we can't have those dates set in stone ahead of time. We have to have this general MOU with the goals where we want to head to, and then develop these plans, and it's going to be a living document. I mean, we're going to be moving along with this thing as we go, so that's the way I see it.
I think the next step, we have to take the step forward in order to get, I mean, we've been at the same point for a long time now. Until we take this step, you know, we got to progress forward so that we can get, the answers will come. As long as we stay on it, though, they're going to come. Brian's answer is going to come eventually here. But until we get this MOU signed, and at this point, we're not taking any steps. We're talking about it.
So the final decision, are we going to ask them to raise all the money before we put a warrant article forward, or are we going to do what Brad suggested and do December 2021, a warrant article in 2023, and then whatever they raise till December 2022, a warrant article in 2024? I'm okay with either.
I'm good with what Brad said.
Brad said both.
Okay.
I brought this new one up for conversation tonight to see if we wanted to change our thoughts moving forward. My thought on that too was, in talking with Linda here, she's been very adamant about that with her support and everything of the project overall anyway.
Yep.
But with the funding being able to go into a bond, I think that would allow us to have a more positive vote showing on this for everything. I'm hoping, and
Oh, I agree. I think the bond's the best idea, but I think that the Friends of the Libby might not accept it.
I don't know. Some of those earlier conversations, it wasn't. I'm not saying they didn't agree to it or anything like that, but there was general conversation about that it, which is why they left it to be filled in by us, each of those time frames that they have listed there, so we could zero in any of those. In fact, I think I remember Tom saying you could zero them into the end. I wish I had the minutes or something like that, the detail that would tell me that, but I don't. So, but I do remember a conversation about that.
All right, so then we could actually get rid of this whole Annex 1. We don't even need it here. Annex 1 doesn't even exist anymore. So what we'll just say in the MOU is that when the Friends of Livy have raised a $2 million threshold, the following year, the Board of Selectmen, as trustees of the museum, will put forward a warrant article for $600,000 or $514,000 or whatever it is at the time.
It's 30% share.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first MOU that was coming to this board, and we had worked it out with Tom and John. We even had a signature on John, who thought that it was going, and then it got changed as it came to us for $300,000 one year, then the next year. And then we got into this chart. And so I guess my thing is, what is the best deal for the voters of this town and taxpayers of this town? And to me, it's bonded warrant article, and it goes over the year.
Absolutely, but
that's the way. Excuse me. Yeah. That's the way I've looked at it, and I've looked at that from the beginning. I am as concerned about us building that partnership with them, and that's kind of why I did that. You raise $1 million, you get part of the money, we get part of the money, we start building into, and they even talk about a structure where they become involved with more of the decision-making. Well, we got to kind of build into that, and that's kind of how my head was going and why I've taken the stands that I have. I think that is where we started. I think 70-30, I think that's a great deal for the taxpayers of this town, and if they raise that, I really appreciate the fact that they've done that.
And I agreed with you in the beginning from that's the best way for the taxpayers, but they pulled back on us. So I mean, I would love it if they would accept an MOU like that, but they pulled back once, so they're going to just pull back again.
This is a back and forth, and by us talking and back and forth, we've got to work our way, and if this they don't like, and that's where we are, then they got to come back to us with a different offer, and then we can try again. If that's really what the board feels is best for the taxpayers of this town, that's who.
Well, we got to trust Brad too. Brad has the pulse of what they're thinking, because he's involved with them. I mean, Brad, do you need to reach out to them first and ask them if that would be an acceptable MOU?
No, I think what they're asking for now is for us to deliver a signed MOU on our end to them to review, and if they sign it, then we're good to go.
And we just pulled the old MOU that is all ready to go.
Well, I think we have some of the other language here we want to put in that we didn't have in the
About
original
the-
one, down in the, under the responsibilities and goals, about the business plan and the,
Yep.
Yep.
you know, we got stuff in there to,
We just have to add that we probably should make a new motion that explains that business plan and economic viability plan, and I still think we want that done as soon as possible.
oh, yes, definitely.
you?
It needs to, yeah. I think that needs to start, as soon as we get an MOU signed and agreed upon. I think the next step is to put out an RFP that we talked about to get these plans started.
Yeah, and we have, we do have an outlet. There's a, as I've mentioned before, there's Krista Rodriguez. She contacted me for Friends of Pop Whalen, and they have a gentleman, Ed Miles. He's an advisor who covers Wolfeboro region. The first step for the Friends of Libby would be to sign up with their organization, and I have a link here for it. And then Ed will schedule things and sit and talk with everybody and help the Friends of the Libby work out a business plan. The Friends of the Libby want us to be involved with it, which means that one or two selectmen are going to have to sit with them when they go through that process. Now, the Friends of Pop Whalen, they'll do it on their own. They'll just create a business plan. They know where they want to go and what they plan on doing.
I think it's hard to compare the two, because what the Friends of Pop Whalen are doing are just adding locker rooms to a town existing building, and in no time are they going to take over that, and they're going to come up and show us the justification for those locker rooms and how the whole facility could then become more economically viable.
Talking to Victor, Victor said that he was hoping that through expansion of advertising and some other programs that they think that their business plan is going to show that the Pop Whalen rink can be self-sustaining.
I don't disagree with that, but they're not taking it, they're helping us put that plan together, all right? That's why they're doing it. They're doing it to help justify their locker rooms. And in it, they are going to be a great help to us.
Yeah, and that's
They're
what
looking at the center ice and using that symbol as a fundraiser, and then 2 years down the line, when they're not done, the town can continue to get revenue for that. They're looking at it in a very different way. But I don't think it's good for us to compare Pop Whalen to the Friends of the Living.
Well, you yourself, Linda, said that we could use the money we have now, just renovate the building and keep it in good shape. They're the moving force that wants to expand the building and make it better. Therefore, I mean, I do think that the business plan going forward should fall more on their responsibility than ours. It's exactly the same as Pop Whalen.
No, because we're not going to manage together with Pop Whalen, all right? We're not looking for Pop Whalen, the Friends of Pop Whalen, to take over that building and eventually run it. Very different. There's been no conversation about that. This one is a different, we're looking at them, they're going to be, Pop Whalen's not talking about building an endowment so they can take it over. They're looking at just their locker rooms. They're looking at eventually taking this over. That's what their agreement, I think.
The chair of the Friends of Libby told me in 15 years they would consider being added to the trust. So there really isn't a lot of impetus for the Friends of the Libby to take over the museum either. I don't think it's their intention.
I guess that I think that I'm going to be more positive, and I'm going to reach out and try to work with them to bring them and to work together, and as soon as it's feasible for them to take it over. And I think that's their intent, because they were the first ones who put it in the end.
So who's going to sit from this board with, who's going to sit from this board, who's going to sit with them and develop their business plan with them?
Can we, I want to deal with the MOU first.
Yeah.
And then we can come back to that as something else.
We need to change something to sign this.
Well, we can't sign it tonight because it isn't in a format that we can, but we could sign it. We need to come out of this meeting to make a motion, get the motions lined up, and then we can have it set, I would imagine, Jim, or...
We can certainly try. I think Brad's got some time available to him to be able to sit down with me and help me out with it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
For November 3rd, get it on the agenda?
Okay.
One thing that I would just add, I did pull up the municipal finance rule, RSA 33, and I think the business plan and economic feasibility study, us working with them is probably pretty important on that. When I read 33.3, the purpose of issue of bonds or notes, it mentions specifically public-private partnerships regarding bonding, and it closes by saying the public benefit in any public-private partnership must outweigh any benefit accruing to a private party. So it does kind of lay the picture that we can bond this, but I think we've got to be going with them side by side. And you know what? If we go through this study and it says that at the end of this study, the Friends cannot do this, we as the town of Wolfeboro know it's ours. If at the end of the study we know that in 8 years they may be able to take it over, we know they can take it over. At least we've got direction at that point. But I will continue to get more clarification from legal counsel, but it sounds like it's doable.
Move we come out of the,
I've got a motion to come out of the Libby Museum trustees meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we're in public session. Brad, do you want to make a motion? And if you want to have a minute or two to put it together, I'm fine with
Yeah,
that.
if I could, please, I'm doing some crossing out of some,
Okay.
adding some words here and there.
they can bring it to,
Well, I think we want it because it's got to go in the MOU. Am I correct?
Right.
yeah, that's what I mean.
But we want to
We
have
have a
it.
final,
Yeah, but we need a motion to have it put in. Then it's in there. We get it on November 3rd. We can sign it, which I think is what you want. While he's gathering that, is there any other discussion? And I think you were bringing up who's going to be on the committee to do the management plan. Whoever volunteers, I guess.
I didn't quite catch all that.
No, we were just,
raise your hand.
I did? Okay.
yeah, your hand's raised. It's just who's coming with you.
So much for retirement, huh?
Well, you never should have told us.
I know, I should know.
45 minutes.
Yeah. We got jobs for you.
Okay. I kind of edited out the version we have in front of us here.
Okay,
I want to kind of go through the edits that I got here, so everybody can kind of mock it up and see if they agree to. Looking at the middle paragraph where it says responsibilities and goals of the town, on the 1, 2, 3, the fourth line down, the line itself starts total project cost, comma, intend to produce. I want to add the word a warrant article, cross off the S, asking the voters to consider, and it'll continue on down to the end. Then the last sentence, benchmarking progress Annex 1, crossing off that sentence. So the last sentence would, so actually the last sentence then will be, the town has many financial obligations on a long-term basis and welcomes the growing support we'll be receiving from Friends of the Libby Museum to sustain and enhance the Libby. Then on the next paragraph on the responsibilities and goals of the Friends, third line down, after the word expansion, comma, which actually change that to a period, and eliminate utilizing the benchmarking framework outlined in Annex 1. Then it'll continue on, the Friends of Libby trustees agree to partner the implementation of a strategic business plan and economic viability study, period. Cross off the rest of that. And then the rest of that paragraph pretty much says what you had talked about, Linda. Not quite as much detail, but it has the general idea there about them joining in with us and some of the expanse of the activities and costs for them to help fund some of the expanding activities and costs, which I think is where you were coming from on that.
That was,
So,
yeah, I just added some words to
Yep.
that, but I don't think it needs to be in here.
right, so I think that kind of covers what you had there, so those are the changes I came up with, and that, I think that by taking out that annex there, that we intend to produce a warrant article, contingent upon them raising the 70%. Do we need to spell it out that it needs to be at once their 70% is raised, or does that kind of says it there, implies it anyway, in my mind?
We should be clear with that, and we should say that that the warrant article would be a bonded?
But we usually decide that when we put the warrant articles together, when, that year, we decide what gets bonded, what doesn't get bonded. It leaves the option open rather than us committing to a certain funding source.
I think it's generally one board doesn't tie the hands of another board.
Right, yeah.
Finances. But the intent is that we're going to bond that warrant article. Am I correct by this
Right,
board?
yeah.
Our
This board.
intent is
Yeah.
that is.
You could write that, you could say, with the intent of a bonded warrant article, if you,
We don't want to tie the hands up of people, of the boards, future or otherwise, I think, my opinion.
I know what Brian is saying here. Let's not put it in here, but when we do the motion in public, that we make sure that the intent of this board, that we're going to bond it. Will that satisfy you?
yeah, well, I'm trying to protect you too, because if
understand.
we are all gone 5 years from now when they do this, do we want what we did now to put a burden on the taxpayers going down the road? You know what I mean?
I'll tell you this, you put $1 million, $1.2 million out as a cash earner, you know where that, got it.
Yep.
So I'm comfortable, but I think you're right, you feel strongly that when we make the motion for this, we say that we're signing this MO, and the intent is that that will be a bonded warrant article without getting us in a signed MOU. Does that work
Yeah,
for
that
everybody else?
works. And I think that also explains to the friends of why we're changing our method of the financing end of it there too and stuff. That's the reason we want to do it at the end is because we want to intentionally, bond it with this board. The intent would be to go that route, which is why we don't want to do the capital reserve funds along the way, so.
Now, does it state in here that the studies need to be done before we put out the warrant article?
No, we talked, my thought on that, and I think I've mentioned before, was that when we put out the RFP on that, we could put a date on when we'd want those completed. It could be done there. It doesn't need to be done in the MOU. That could be done on we put out the RFP for the business plan and the strategic study here, viability study.
So we'll do that in a motion. Another motion saying, no, this MOU is not going to have it. When
Right.
we do that, before we pass this,
Yeah.
we'll put a warrant, we'll make a motion for the business and other plan to be completed on a date
Right.
specified in the contract.
Right.
Okay?
So we have that
We aren't going to
detailed.
know the date, but it's
Right.
going, we're going to state that it's going to be
There will-
specified in the
There will
contract.
be a date, right? Yep.
Take care of
Yeah,
it?
yeah, because we have to have some kind of performance clause.
And are we all in agreement that we're looking at both parties being involved in this?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, as long as everybody understands that we're going to own this forever.
I don't.
I don't think that's the case.
That's, yeah. I don't agree with
I
that.
will be dead and buried before the Board of Selectmen are no longer trustees of this museum.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know that was...
You guys may be alive, but I'll be dead and buried. And it's okay, I'm okay with it, but it seemed like the intent of a lot of people when I first became a selectman and we got into this was, let's get the town out of the business of running a museum.
We haven't changed that, Brian. We're just looking at how realistically we can get there. And we've got to work with them and develop that strategic partnership. And if we don't get that strategic partnership, they aren't going to take it over.
Yep.
We are going to end up owning it forever.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, so,
They need to be more consistent too. They need to,
well,
if they say something, they need to stick by what they say.
We've been pretty all over the sheet on this one, too, so.
We've been very accommodating to them, and we've tried to approach this in 5 different directions, and every time we've approached it, they've said no, 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 and no thank you.
Well, let's do it this way. From here on in, we're ourselves together. See if we can do a better job. That work? That's our goal.
Yep.
Right? So we don't need a motion on this. Brad has made the changes. Jim has it. We're comfortable going forward with a revamped MOU with that, with a motion on the business plan and the management plan with the contract having it. Anybody have any questions or concerns or want to do it? Right. I think we're getting to the end here.
Motion to adjourn?
Any other business?
Is it proper to cancel the November 1st meeting that I tentatively scheduled as a budget? Not need to do
I think we should cancel it. Is there anybody who is against canceling that meeting? Please speak up now.
I'll make a motion, we cancel it.
All right, there you go.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right, Dave,
for that.
thank you. Okay, Dave, you're on.
Move we adjourn?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
So we're right back to where we started.
Thank you through the first phase of the budget process.